Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy wrapped up right around the same time another universe of costumed heroes who shall remain nameless was kicking into high gear. Understandably, fans of the DC universe wanted to know when their favorite heroes would get a chance to play together. Turns out, it didn't take long. Warner Brothers assembled their own cinematic universe at Speed Force-fueled pace, setting the table for never-before-seen combinations of Caped Crusaders and Steel Men and more Steel Men, but theirs is a tale that spans thousands of years. So with New Kid on the Block Shazamming into theaters soon, let's get this story straight and put the events of the DCEU into chronological order. Dating back to when the world was new, in a mythological sense, Zeus and the gods of ancient Greece created mankind and the Amazons, who went on to fight alongside the tribes of men and the kingdom of Atlantis when the world was invaded by intergalactic military jerk Steppenwolf and his parademons, who hoped to terraform the newly created planet in their own image. They were successful in driving Steppenwolf and his forces away and claimed the 3 Mother Boxes, a sort of perpetual energy system that would power the terraforming when combined into the Unity. The Atlanteans took one, the Amazons another, the third was hidden by the tribes of men, 3 for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords. Wrong movie, sorry. During the era of expansion, the technologically advanced planet Krypton sends voyagers out seeking new worlds to settle, building outposts and terraforming planets. But this expansion took a toll on the planet, draining natural resources and slowly destabilizing the planet's core. Things begin to fall apart pretty rapidly after Steppenwolf's botched Unity party. The Kingdom of Atlantis collapsed under the weight of their own rapid expansion, a trend that we'll see continue, and split into 7 smaller kingdoms. Around the same time, Ares, the god of war, went to battle with the other gods, murdering them all, corrupting the hearts of men, and forcing the Amazons into hiding on the island of Themyscira. In 1918, the final year of World War I, American spy Steve Trevor crash lands in the waters outside of Themyscira, officially becoming the first outsider and first man to discover the island since it was hidden, though he doesn't hold that record for very long. The skilled warrior and Princess Diana saves Steve from the wreckage, but German soldiers on his tail breach the island's defenses. Man's world has officially discovered the Amazons, and vice versa. Convinced that the Great War is the doing of Ares, Diana leaves Themyscira along with Steve to finish the god of war once and for all. In the process, they liberate Veld, a city in German-occupied Belgium, and have their photo taken, something that definitely doesn't come back to haunt Diana in the future. Just kidding, it totally does. Anyway, Diana, Steve, and their band of sidekicks eventually defeat Ares, who had been hiding in the form of Professor Lupin this whole time, but in the process, Steve is forced to sacrifice himself. Diana, disillusioned with the world of men, decides to live out her immortal life in secret, working at the Louvre. Let's check in on Krypton's dying core.
This is the end.
Not doing great. In 1980, Kryptonian general and zealot Zod tries to stage a coup on his dying homeworld. In the chaos, scientist Jor-El plots to save his son Kal-El by sending him off-planet along with the Codex, a skull of some sort that apparently is the key to Krypton's future. But don't worry, it doesn't really come up again. Zod kills Jor-El moments after his son Kal is launched off the planet, but his uprising ultimately fails. He and his co-conspirators are sentenced to 300 cycles of reconditioning in the Phantom Zone. But Krypton explodes before we ever get to learn just how long 300 cycles is. Kal's craft lands safely in Smallville, Kansas, where he's found by the kind-hearted Jonathan and Martha Kent. They name him Clark, because Kal's name tag flew off on his ship somewhere around Jupiter. The next year, the Wayne family, Gotham City royalty, are accosted by an armed robber outside a movie theater. Thomas and Martha are shot and killed, orphaning Bruce. During his parents' funeral, Bruce accidentally discovers a bat-filled cave outside the cemetery and, well, come on, you know how this story goes. In 1985, lighthouse keeper Thomas Curry rescues Atlanta, the runaway queen of Atlantis, from the beach during a storm, marking the first contact between an Atlantean and a surface dweller for thousands of years. The next year, Arthur Curry is born, proof that Atlanteans and humans can coexist. The late 80s and early 90s are an important formative time for both Arthur and Clark. Atlanta is forced to abandon her husband and son after Atlantean soldiers track her down. Meanwhile, back in Kansas, young Clark Kent begins discovering his powers. Pa Kent tells him he's an alien, which is about the worst and best adoption reveal ever. Later, Arthur also begins discovering his powers, which almost destroy the New England Aquarium and ruin countless field trips. In 1997, Jonathan Kent dies in a tornado, saving a dog. What a guy. Clark learns a valuable, if needlessly traumatic, lesson about being a hero and using his powers. Roughly around this time, young Arthur begins training in secret with Volko, his Atlantean mentor. It's 2013, and Clark is living a transient life, working on a fishing boat. Wonder if he ever ran into Aquaman. They receive a distress call from an oil rig going up in flames. Clark boards the rig, and he and his rippling abs keep it from falling down for just long enough for the helicopter full of crew members to escape. And then he f***ing dies. Just kidding, that's not for another couple of years. Later, Clark discovers a Kryptonian ship in the ice, placing the key his father sent him to Earth with in a computer. Clark meets an AI recreation of Jor-El who tells him about the fall of Krypton and gifts him his suit. Of course, this is just in time for General Zod to arrive. He broadcasts a message to the Earth. Kal-El must turn himself in within 24 hours or the planet will suffer. And of course, Clark does turn himself in. He and Lois are taken aboard Zod's ship, where he reveals that he plans on terraforming Earth and turning it into the new Krypton. Clark and Lois escape to Smallville, and Zod and his compatriots retaliate by devastating the town, but Superman fends them off by making Zod breathe our gross air. Eventually, Clark and Zod's fight spills into Metropolis and absolutely demolishes the place. Not that great in terms of a public debut for Superman. While the two Kryptonians rack up an impressive amount of property and collateral damage in the air, Bruce Wayne frantically tries to clear civilians out of Wayne Tower. It doesn't go very well, and Bruce is left with even more guilt on his conscience and a simmering hatred for Superman. And boy, is it gonna boil over. 18 months after the Metropolis catastrophe, the world has largely adjusted to the existence of Superman. He even has a cool statue in the middle of the city. But not everyone is as enamored with the existence of superpowered aliens as the general public. Lex Luthor, billionaire inventor, heir to his father's company LexCorp, and less crazy Mark Zuckerberg secretly begins researching ways to defend, heavy on the air quotes there, Earth from Kryptonian invasion. Lex begins secretly amassing kryptonite left on Earth after Zod's attack while developing a scheme to prove to the world once and for all that superhumans are dangerous, while a world-weary Bruce Wayne investigates both Lex and Superman. He is still not over the whole Metropolis thing. Lex has also been collecting data on other rumored metahumans, which Bruce steals and uses to track down the mysterious Diana Prince. Remember that old photo from Belgium back in 1918? Surprise, it's back. Anyway, Lex concocts a plan to make Batman and Superman fight to the death while the world watches. That involves him kidnapping both Lois Lane and Martha Kent because apparently Lex Luthor is a better detective than Batman and figured out Superman's secret identity like it was no big deal. But Lex's plan fails after Bruce and Clark realize mid-deathmatch that their moms had the same names.
You're letting him kill Martha!
You know, how fights always end. The tender bonding moment is interrupted by Lex's backup plan. Using the corpse of General Zod, the wreckage of a Kryptonian ship, and his own blood, Lex has created Doomsday, a monster capable of absorbing energy and destroying just about everything. With their Martha-based friendship solidified, Clark and Bruce fight Doomsday side by side with the help of a trump card, Wonder Woman, who has finally come out of her self-imposed secret exile to clean up the boys' mess. Cue the riff! Tragically, the fight with Doomsday ends when Clark sacrifices himself to impale the monster on a kryptonite spear. Oh yeah, did we mention that Batman made a kryptonite spear? He was totally ready to murder Superman. Like, for real, he even practiced. So Doomsday dies, Superman dies, and the whole world sees that Lex Luthor is insane and heroes are good. But now, Batman and Wonder Woman are left to pick up the pieces and prepare for what comes next. And it's gonna be a nightmare. The next year, government operative Amanda Waller begins recruiting some kind of suicide squad. But seeing as that bad boy's getting a total reboot from James Gunn and will likely no longer be canon, let's just keep our eyes forward. In 2017, the world begins being quietly invaded by parademons, bug-like alien soldiers who feed on fear, under the leadership of Steppenwolf. Remember that guy from ancient times? Yeah, well, apparently he's just been waiting in the wings for the optimal time to strike, and what better moment than roughly a year after Superman bit the dust. So Steppenwolf's back, and he wants to complete the unity between the three mother boxes from way back when, which will terraform the Earth. Why do so many people want to terraform Earth? Diana and Bruce begin assembling a team to fight Steppenwolf based on the research Bruce stole from Lex Luthor, made up of Barry Allen, a plucky speedster, Victor Stone, a human-turned-cyborg by alien tech, and everyone's favorite fish talker, Arthur Curry, to join forces to stop the invasion. But of course, they need more firepower. Using one of the mother boxes, they resurrect Superman. And it does not go super well at first. It's a real
Pet cemetery
situation. Barry's words, not ours. But a brief date with Lois helps Clark return to himself. Together, the newly formed Justice League stops Steppenwolf and leaves a tiny town in rural Russia full of some pretty neat-looking alien flora. Better than a giant city full of death and destruction, right, Soups? About a year after the formation of the League, Arthur Curry still isn't all that into the whole superhero thing. In stopping a pirate attack on a Russian sub, that is such a good sentence, he brutally provides the supervillain origin story for his future nemesis, Black Manta. Meanwhile, trouble is a-brewing in Atlantis proper. Arthur's half-brother, King Orm, is planning on starting a war with the surface world because we are polluting the hell out of his waters. But his methods are a little extreme, so his betrothed, Mira, goes looking to Arthur for help. It takes some convincing, but Arthur eventually returns to Atlantis to try and stop Orm. But it doesn't really go his way, and he and Mira are sent off on an epic quest to find the lost trident of King Atlan to try and stop Orm from destroying land and sea. In the process, they find Queen Atlanta, who has been lost in the hidden sea at the bottom of a magic portal in the Marianas Trench full of dinosaurs. Again, Aquaman is full of good sentences to describe it. Luckily, that's where the trident is too, and a giant kraken voiced by Julie Andrews. Yes, really.
You dishonor this place.
With trident in hand, Arthur defeats Orm. That, coupled with Atlanta's return to Atlantis, we've got ourselves a brand new king. And that brings us right up to speed in the DCEU, just in time for Shazam to continue the story. Will Billy Batson level a city? Rescue a hunky World War I pilot? Have a Martha-fueled emotional breakthrough? We'll find out soon enough. For more sweet timeline action, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe in chronological order and our Conjuringverse timeline. And as always, be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you like to watch IGN.